Hey everyone, I hope you're doing okay today. This is Harry from Money Teacher. So, there's been a serious issue involving Social Security data. And it's not just a technical mistake or some boring paperwork problem. It's one of those moments where personal finance, government trust, and even national security all collide. And yeah, it has real consequences for regular people like you and me. And here's the part that really shocked me when I first heard about it. Social Security doesn't just hold your number, it holds details about your life that can't be changed ever. Your birth information, your work history, your citizenship status, and records that follow you from your first job to your last. And once that kind of information is out there, it's not like canceling a credit card or changing a password. That's permanent. And that's why this situation matters so much more than most data leaks we hear about. Before I go any further, let me ask you something real quick. And yeah, let me know in the comments. Do you feel like your personal information is actually safe anymore? Or does it feel like it's always at risk no matter what you do? Now, here's what happened, and I'll walk through it because this gets confusing fast. For more than 90 years, the Social Security Administration has been one of the most trusted places in the federal government when it comes to personal data. People didn't always love the system, but they trusted it. And that trust is what made everything else work. Banking, benefits, taxes, healthcare, all of it. In 2025, under President Trump's administration, a new group was created called the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. The goals sounded reasonable on the surface. Cut waste, reduce fraud, modernize systems, and save taxpayer money. Elon Musk was brought in to help oversee this effort, and the target number being talked about was massive, like trillions in potential savings. And if you've ever dealt with government systems, you probably get why that idea appealed to a lot of people. But then things started to go sideways. A senior official inside the Social Security Administration, the chief data officer at the time, filed a whistleblower complaint. His name is Chuck Voorhees. And what he said was pretty alarming. He claimed that DOGE employees were accessing Social Security databases in ways they weren't supposed to, ignoring court limits on that access, and moving sensitive data into outside cloud systems that weren't properly monitored or approved. At first, the administration pushed back hard. They said no data was compromised, nothing to worry about, everything was under control, and a lot of people probably stopped paying attention right there. But months later in January, the Department of Justice filed court documents that quietly admitted something very different. They confirmed that Social Security data had in fact been shared using unauthorized third-party services and that personal information had been sent outside of approved systems. And this is where it shifts from a policy debate into something much more serious. Because unlike a retail breach where maybe your email gets exposed, Social Security data is immutable. That's the word Boris used, immutable. It doesn't change. If someone gets access to that data, they can potentially use it forever across multiple systems, not just Social Security. So think about that for a second. Your Social Security number isn't just used for benefits. It's used by banks, hospitals, employers, credit agencies, and sometimes even schools. If someone can convincingly pretend to be you using that information, the damage can spread quietly and slowly. And by the time you notice, it can already be deep into your financial life. One detail from the court filings really stood out to me. DOGE staff reportedly moved data on a cloud servers outside Social Security's normal security protocols. Services like Cloudflare were mentioned. And the problem isn't just that the data was moved. It's that Social Security can't fully confirm what data was moved, how long it stayed there, or whether copies still exist. So even today, there's uncertainty about the scope of exposure. And then there's another layer that made a lot of lawmakers nervous. One DOGE-affiliated employee at Social Security reportedly signed a voter data agreement with an outside advocacy group connected to efforts to overturn election results in certain states. Now, to be clear, that doesn't mean Social Security data was used to do that. But it raises the question, could data like this be misused for political purposes? And that question alone is enough to trigger serious national security concerns. Lawmakers from both chambers reacted strongly. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand said seniors already dealing with long wait times and benefit delays shouldn't have to worry about their personal data being handed over to political groups. Senator Chuck Schumer warned that this could open the door to identity theft on a scale costing billions. And Representative John Larson called it the most reckless breach of public trust in Social Security's history. Now, the administration's response has been to say the numbers are being exaggerated. They argue that only a limited number of individuals are confirmed to be affected. But here's the issue, and this is important. When you don't know what data was copied, where it went, or whether it still exists, you can't rely only on confirmed cases. The lack of evidence doesn't prove safety. It just proves uncertainty. Chuck Voorhees made this point very clearly. He said if this data has been downloaded or copied, it can make fraud easier across every government system, not just Social Security. That's why he described it as a strategic intelligence asset. And that phrase might sound dramatic, but when you think about foreign actors, cybercrime networks, or even long-term financial manipulation, it starts to make sense. Another thing to consider is how this affects trust. Social Security has survived wars, recessions, and political fights because people believed the system was stable. Even when changes happened, people believed their information was handled carefully. Once that belief cracks, it's really hard to restore. And trust is kind of invisible. You only notice it once it's gone. Groups like AP have also weighed in, pointing out that Social Security numbers are like master keys. When compromised, the damage doesn't stay in one place. You can see fraudulent loans, stolen benefits, fake medical claims, even impersonation of deceased individuals. And cleaning that up can take years, not weeks or months. Now, I want to pause here for a second and bring this back to something practical because I know a lot of you are thinking, okay, but what does this actually mean for me? And that's fair. First, it doesn't mean your benefits are stopping tomorrow, and it doesn't mean you should panic. But it does mean we're entering a period where vigilance matters more than ever. You should be watching your Social Security statements, checking your earnings records, monitoring your credit reports, and being skeptical of unexpected calls or letters. And yeah, that's frustrating, especially for people who've done everything right their whole lives. But awareness is still one of the strongest protections we have. What's more, this situation highlights a bigger issue about how government modernization is handled. There's a tension between moving fast and being careful. Silicon Valley culture values speed and disruption. Government systems, especially ones handling permanent personal data, are built around caution and redundancy. When those two worlds collide without clear rules, things can break in dangerous ways. Even though the goal of reducing waste and fraud is legitimate, execution matters, guardrails matter, and transparency matters. Because once data like this is exposed, you don't get a second chance to undo it. I also want to acknowledge something I see a lot in comments. People feeling tired. Tired of breaches, tired of hearings, tired of apologies that don't change much. That frustration is valid, and it's part of why stories like this can feel overwhelming. But staying informed, even when it's uncomfortable, is still powerful. As we move forward, the big question is accountability. What did Congress know? When did they know it? And what safeguard will actually be enforced going forward? Not promised, but enforced. Because without that, this becomes just another chapter in a long list of data failures. And guess what? This isn't just about politics. It's about systems that touch every paycheck, every retirement check, every disability payment. It's about whether we can modernize responsibly without sacrificing the security of people who rely on these programs to survive. So yeah, keep an eye on this, not out of fear, but out of awareness. Pay attention to official updates, watch your personal records, and don't ignore small inconsistencies when they show up. Those little things often matter more than we realize. At the end of the day, Social Security is more than a line item in the budget. It's a promise, and protecting the data behind that promise is just as important as funding the benefits themselves. If that trust is going to hold for the next generation, lessons from this moment can't be brushed aside. Thanks for spending this time with me. Take care of yourself. Take care of your information. And I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. If you like my video, please subscribe my channel.